G'day guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice stories from Reddit, which I'm going to be reading today. It's going to be a good time, so with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie. Let's get right into today's episode. Let's go. Posted by user ThrowRA Wife Sister, titled, My 37 male, wife's 34 female, sister 29 female, tried to kiss me, and now my wife is spiraling. Help me. Sorry for how long this is, but as the title says, my wife's sister made a pass at me at a recent family gathering, and I have no idea what to do. For context, I think my wife Jenna is absolutely gorgeous, but she has some really negative body image issues. This is in large part because of her sister Mary, who is very conventionally attractive, as opposed to Jenna's more unconventional, but in my opinion, striking beauty. Mary was a successful model until a couple of years ago, and now works in the fashion industry. In our early days of dating, when I would tell Jenna that she's beautiful, she would always say, just wait until you see my sister. And when I did finally meet her family, she would randomly press me for weeks to talk about her sister, whether I thought she was more attractive than her, etc. I always told her the truth, that I think Mary is attractive in a boring way, and that I think that my wife is much more beautiful and interesting to look at. She wouldn't let it go until I confronted her about how uncomfortable it made me and asked her what was going on. This is when she told me that she always had a chip on her shoulder about her looks because of being compared with her sister growing up. They fell into the classic smart one, pretty one dynamic their whole lives. She also said Mary had a habit of being flirty with all of her exes and warned me that it would happen to me eventually. She then started sobbing and begging me not to cheat on her with her sister, to which I forcefully said I would never cheat on her with anyone, let alone her sister. I've been crazy about my wife since day one, and there is literally no woman on earth who would come close to her. I honestly didn't believe her about the flirting at first. I assumed it was just an extension of her insecurity, but I was wrong. Whenever we would get together with my wife's family, Mary always finds ways to touch me and make little innuendos and comments about me or my body. It's super uncomfortable for everyone, especially my wife, and I've called her out on it before. She'll cool it down for a little bit, but then eventually start doing it again. It's been 6 years of this, and every time it happens, my wife is upset for days, and I have to do a lot of reassuring. On to the current problem. A few days ago, we were at my mother-in-law's birthday party, and Mary asked me to grab her some things from the garage. As soon as we walked into the garage, she turned and pressed me up against the door with her whole body and started trying to kiss me. I immediately pushed her off and asked her what the hell she was doing. She started giggling and saying she was just doing what we've both been thinking, and insisting, you know you want to. I told her that she was out of her mind and ran out of there. I went straight to my wife and told her that we were leaving. The whole ride home, she was asking me what was wrong. I wasn't sure whether to tell her because I knew how much it was going to hurt her, but I also thought Mary would probably try to spin it as me making a move on her. So I knew I had to just say it. I told her everything, and she cried the whole way home. For the last several days, Mary's been calling and texting my wife, doing exactly what I thought she would do, even telling my wife that I said she, Mary, was the hottest girl I've ever seen, which I had to assure my wife a million times that I did not and would never say, even though she believes my account of the situation. She's been a complete train wreck the last several days. She's hardly eating, she pulls away from my touch when I try to hug her or just hold her hand, she says she feels hideous and disgusting, and I don't know what to do. This is the lowest I have ever seen her, and it hurts to see how much she's hurting. I have no idea what to do to help her heal from this Reddit. What should I do? In the comments, Honest Illusions says, all the family gatherings that include Mary must now be non-attendable. Your wife knows what an absolutely awful woman her sister is, and hopefully the rest of the family does too. To be honest, your wife's sister is evil. You've reassured your wife of your love and your faithfulness. Your wife is incredibly insecure about herself, so obviously a professional may be in order for her and for yourself to talk to. You love your wife, so stand by her and be there to support her. OP replies, "My in-laws definitely enable her behavior. She's the golden child. They brag about her constantly, even though my wife is literally a neuroscientist. Their mum was a pageant queen and she was their dad's much younger trophy wife. Honestly, we may have to go no contact with all of them." Your marriage and your wife's happiness is at stake here. This calls for drastic measures. I agree that you cannot be around your sister. The sister is poison. She is actively seeking to ruin your marriage. I think you also need couples counseling to talk about this in a neutral setting and also some individual therapy for your wife. I am so sorry this all happened. You and your wife sound like wonderful people, and I'm rooting for you. Sister needs validation that she is better than OP's wife. I presume she's single, and even though she's attractive, she doesn't understand why her less attractive sister has the kind of man that she thinks she deserves more. So both of the sisters have low self-esteem because they've placed too much value on their looks. Sister didn't work on her substance or dates the wrong kind of men, and wife worked so hard to be someone impressive in a career that she became a neuroscientist. OP, your wife has the brains and the beauty. Her sister only has one of those and is so very jealous of your wife that she's always gone after her men to make herself feel like she has greater value. I hope your wife can learn to love herself as much as you do. Straight up tell your wife that your sister-in-law is a rotten, festering, soulless cretin on the inside, so it matters not her physical features. Also, your wife needs to go no contact with her dumb female dog sister. Probably years ago. She needs to block her number and go to therapy because her sister has been abusing her for years. This instance was merely the final chip on an already very, very cracked vase. It is shattered, and you do not have the glue that she needs. A professional will. If you haven't, then explain the situation in detail. Leave nothing out. Ask her why you would have immediately left if you were actually interested in her sister. Remind her that this is her sister's MO, so she cannot be trusted. Her sister has some freaky jealousy of your wife. Maybe her intelligence or very striking beauty. No loving, caring sister repeatedly chases their sister's exes. She is so gross. Someone should tell her that she is so gross because she needs to know how nasty she's acting. But for real, get your wife to a therapist because Mary has screwed her up with her, Mary's, shitty behavior. So gross. So gross. Who the hell wants dick that's been in another family member? Like, what the hell is wrong with Mary? Yeah, tell your wife that you're getting a restraining order against her sister for sexually harassing you. That ugly piece of shit is an absolute narcissist who thinks she's entitled to the world because of her looks. OP replies, "I might try to do this. A friend of mine pointed out that what she did actually was, literally, sexual assault. I don't know how restraining orders work though. Will they actually do anything if it's just my word against hers?" Look, a genuine attempt to file it might help your wife regardless of if it goes through or not. Insist on blocking and going no contact with her sister, and maybe publicly calling her out for sexual assault will get her to back off. But don't do that last one without your wife's express permission. Yeah, this does kind of seem like the situation where you have to go full on scorched earth, and I'm surprised more hasn't been done beforehand to curtail anything like this happening. I understand that it's fully possible and it's probably more likely than not, but how has it led to the point that OP has got sexually assaulted by Mary and they aren't prepared for this? They don't have a plan for what to do, and it doesn't seem there was much prevention of this beforehand. More just, we'll burn that bridge when we get there, don't worry about it, don't think about it. It's just like if it were me and my partner was so strung up about such a big issue that affects them obviously, I'd want to go to therapy with them and work on solutions for how to combat it and how to avoid any blow-ups like this in the future, because is it not obvious that something like this is going to happen? I'm just trying to get my head around that part. And now, onto the update. So I got a few requests for updates, so here it is. I first want to thank everyone so much for your advice. It was extremely helpful and gave me a lot to think about. I'm especially thankful for the folks that asked me how I was doing. I realize that I have literally never had a chance to check in with myself after these things happen, and I've actually been holding on to a lot of frustration and resentment about it all. I've been harassed for years, and it's either been brushed off or been eclipsed by the impact it has on my wife. I don't blame her for it, but this has been a good lesson in me not burying my feelings for the sake of others, even for her. I also want to clarify a couple of things that came up. Several people asked about how my wife's family feels about all this, and I explained in a comment that her parents are toxic and treat Mary as the golden child, even though my wife is a frickin' neuroscientist, amazingly talented musician, speaks 3 languages fluently, and another 2 conversationally. My wife and her family are seriously the only people who don't seem to understand just how exceptional she is. I remember meeting one of my wife's family friends and talking to them about her research, and they said, "Oh wow, her parents just told us that she works at a university." Whereas my parents literally introduce her as the family genius to everyone. It makes me so effing angry to think about how her asshole family has stolen her shine her whole life. She's literally a Renaissance woman, but all they care about is looks and money. Some folks asked me why I would ever put myself in a situation alone with Mary, given everything that she has done. I have no good answers for that, other than I never thought she would actually try to do anything. That possibility just didn't exist in my head. I realize now that I should have seen that this would happen eventually, and that I should have been less concerned with keeping the peace, and more concerned with shutting Mary's shit down before it escalated to this point. But hindsight is 2020. Anyway, onto the updates. The night I posted, I told my wife that if she wanted to try to repair her relationship with her sister, then I would respect that, but that I don't feel comfortable being around her for the foreseeable future. I said Mary has obviously been deeply jealous of my wife her whole life because she is a hollow and ugly person whose entire value has an expiration date, while my wife actually has substance. I said that I think her whole family is toxic and has done nothing but put her down her whole life, but that only she can decide whether she still wants them in her life. I also told my wife that while I don't blame her for her emotional reaction, her insecurity is something that she needs to work on for our relationship to be healthy. What Mary did was sexual assault, and she's been sexually harassing me for years. But I have consistently put aside my own feelings about this problem because of how it affects her, and that has prevented me from getting the support that I need too. I told her that her reaction only serves to punish herself and me for her sister's behavior, and there's no reason to give her that kind of power. I also told her something that a commenter said that really resonated with me. The only people who have ever considered her second best are her and her family. Everyone else sees her for who she really is. She was crying the whole time and agreed that she needed to go to therapy to work on her insecurity. We were able to find a therapist who specializes in body image and self-esteem issues to work with her individually, and we're looking for a couples therapist too. My wife sent a message to her parents and sister that explained exactly what happened and told them she would reach out to them if she ever felt ready to repair their relationship. We blocked all of them everywhere, but Mary has of course been spamming my family and our friends with nonsense, claiming that I attacked her, I'm a drug addict, I abuse my wife, all kinds of bullshit that thankfully nobody believes. My wife was still down in the dumps, but I can see that things are getting a little better. She's eating and sleeping more, and she's cuddling with me in the mornings again, which is nice. Now I'm planning a surprise getaway for us this weekend. We're going to go to one of our favorite places, and I'm going to wine and dine her and try to make her feel like the goddamn queen she is. I want to thank you all again for your help. You really helped me understand the severity of the problem, and again, thanks for helping me connect with my own feelings about all of this. Y'all are the best. In the comments, Avina Landon says, quote, Mary has of course been spamming my family and friends with nonsense. I have a suggestion. Even though no one believes what Mary has been saying, it could be helpful for you and your wife in the long run to hire an attorney now to send a strongly worded cease and desist letter to Mary. If Mary's been sending text and voicemails to your family and friends, then you have some evidence of slander and libel. Shutting her actions down hard now could prevent her from escalating her actions in the future. just like she did in the past, where she tried to test and push your boundaries, which then escalated to her doing what she did. Yes, exactly this. Don't give them any ground to stand on. You and your wife need to stamp this out right now and build a boundary. She has proven she has zero boundaries, and you need to establish yours, or she will slowly over time push further and further back into your lives in an unhealthy manner. Think of it like this. She keeps pestering. One day, your wife is either feeling particularly weak or strong and thinks she either should or can now open up that relationship again. Now your wife and her sister go back and forth and rebuild without you being aware. One day you come home and find Mary sitting on your couch, and your wife starts pleading to hear her out, please. I can't tell you how many Reddit posts I've read that are exactly this. Do it now while the feeling is strong. You're an absolute legend, OP. She's found herself another genius who knows how to navigate life without infantile drama. I wish you both nothing but the absolute best. OP replies, the only genius thing I've ever done is marry her. I'm a pretty average dude, to be honest, so I have no idea how I snagged her. Sad to think her low self-esteem probably played a part, but I do work hard to be a good husband every day. Well, she chose you because you're worth it, my guy. The way you speak about her makes it plain that you're the king to her queen. Reign together and extricate yourselves from the ill wishes. Yeah, onto that point about Mary sitting on the couch and the wife pleading to hear her out. It just reminds me so much of that goddamn post that really pissed me off, where OP was estranged from her father for good reason because he walked out on her and then started a new family and said to her face that he wanted nothing to do with her. And, he still kept in contact with the town. Everyone was cool with him. He comes back to the town with his new family. He starts trying to get into a new relationship with her again, and she's like, absolutely not. But then it turned out that, oh my god, for the last 6 months, her fiancé has been speaking to the father behind her back and trying to be like, hey, let's rebuild the relationship secretly and not tell her anything about it. This is going to go really well. This is not going to blow up the marriage at all. I don't know, I might be blending two stories together there, so I could be wrong on the details. But that commenter was absolutely right. Shit like that does happen, and you have to stop it now before perpetrators like Mary and the father in that quoted story get in there and start causing shit to happen that you don't want. And then what do you know, Mary separates the trust you have with your wife, and your wife potentially breaks up with you because of the divide that Mary has caused. Do you seriously want to risk that, OP? Is that worth it? And now on to the, hopefully, final update. So I guess my original post got reposted onto TikTok and some other subs here on Reddit, so I've been getting tons of messages asking for updates. It feels like things are mostly settled, and I'm really hoping this will be my final update. First, I want to say that I've gotten so many questions about who Mary is, and I'm just not going to say. Suffice to say that she's never been household name famous, but she made a living solely on modeling for about a decade from what I understand, so she must have been popular enough that fashion people might know her. I really don't know how that whole world works, but in my opinion, it doesn't matter how many names you drop, you're not famous if you don't have a Wikipedia page. Also got lots of comments that, mostly jokingly, called me a simp, and I can't argue with that. I totally am a simp for my wife. She's the coolest. I hope you all find a love that makes you feel this way. Okay, I think that's it. Here's the actual update. My wife loved the getaway weekend. We had a blast, and by the end of it, she said she felt like herself again. For a few days after we got back, things were really quiet, so we were hopeful that Mary had finally given up, but I felt uneasy about it all. Many of you warned me that Mary would try to interfere with my work, and while I initially dismissed it, I figured that I would reach out to my boss just in case. I've been working at the same company for almost 10 years, and she's heard me vent about Mary before, so I didn't have to explain too much. My boss just reassured me that she knows my real character and would let me know if Mary tried anything. As you predicted, Mary did try to contact my boss a couple of days later, and the following is a recounting of what my boss told me. Apparently, Mary said that I needed to be fired because I was a predator and claimed to have proof that I assaulted her. My boss said that that was a very serious accusation to make and asked Mary to explain what proof she had. Mary claimed there was a camera that caught the whole incident, and my boss asked her to send the video. And then Mary got flustered and said that the police had it, so my boss asked her to send over a copy of the police report. Then Mary said that it had a lot of private information in it, so my boss asked her to redact the private information and to send it over. Then Mary said she didn't feel comfortable with that, and my boss told her that she could not take action against an employee based on word of mouth from a stranger. Then Mary shouted at her about victim blaming and hung up. Unfortunately, that was not the end of it. Last Wednesday, Mary somehow sent an email from my personal email account with a dick pic, not mine obviously, to the entire office. My best guess is that I must have left my email logged in one of my in-laws' devices. She's definitely not smart enough to actually hack me. And I know this is completely beside the point, but of course she chose the weirdest looking dick I've ever seen. I played team sports all my life. I've seen a lot of dicks, but this was something else. It's honestly kind of funny to think about Mary Googling gross penis or something and sifting through hundreds of images to find just the right one. I had to apologize to everyone on staff, and thankfully, folks were surprisingly understanding. It's actually been kind of a nice bonding experience with my coworkers. I honestly didn't consider myself to be super well liked in the office, but it seems like everyone's been going out of their way to be kind to me, and it means a lot. Anyway, at this point it was clear that we had to escalate things legally. I really wanted to avoid it, but she forced my hand. My wife and I have a lawyer friend who helped us draft a cease and desist letter outlining her continued harassment and the material and emotional damage this is causing us. My wife then sent a message to Mary and my in-laws with a copy of the letter and made it very clear that we would pursue criminal and/or civil proceedings if her harassment continued. My wife's mum then called her crying and begged her to just let it go and leave Mary alone. My wife calmly explained that Mary is the only person responsible for this whole situation and that their parents have always enabled her awful behavior. She also said something she later regretted, but I think it was pretty badass. Mary's gonna stick you two in a nursing home and steal your money the minute that she has the chance, and you deserve it. After the way her mum reacted, my wife is firmly settled on cutting her family off completely. This happened on Friday, and on Sunday, Mary's best frenemy, Anne, sent my brother a message on Facebook saying Mary is going to leave us alone and to please not sue her. I told my brother not to respond, and just sat there and enjoyed the idea that Mary was out there somewhere freaking out about the potential of having to actually face the consequences of her actions. It must be such a strange feeling for her. Since then, we haven't heard a peep from the grapevine. It feels like things are finally starting to go back to normal. My wife is starting therapy next week, and we'll be starting couples therapy in a month or two. She wants to do some work on herself first. She's also taking a short leave from work to rest and recharge. I'm so proud of her for standing up for herself with her family and finally putting her mental health and well-being first. Thanks again for everyone who offered advice. This was a messy situation, but it definitely would have been messier without your help. And now, on to our next update. I forgot about this account completely until today and logged in to see so many comments and messages asking for an update. It's honestly touching to see how many people care about this situation and want the best for me and my wife. This will be a brief update. I don't want to make this a regular thing, and the original situation has resolved enough that I'm hopeful that this will be the end of the saga. Mary and my in-laws have pretty much left us alone. My mother-in-law still tries to contact my wife every now and then, but she's made it clear to her family that if the first words out of their mouths aren't, "I'm sorry," she isn't interested in a conversation. As you can see, the past 6 months have made my wife a badass. She's done some amazing work in therapy, and her confidence is growing all the time. It's not just with her family, she's more comfortable asserting herself at work, with strangers, with friends, etc. She's even stopped putting up with some of my shit. To be fair, that quote-unquote shit, it's stuff like my leaving my socks everywhere around the house, but I am seriously proud of her for just telling me to cut it out. I'm becoming a more responsible and supportive partner because she's able to communicate her needs and expectations without feeling guilty about it, and I'm able to communicate things to her without intense emotions fully eclipsing the conversation. I didn't mention this in my earlier posts, but my wife does struggle with rejection sensitivity even outside of her family. Often if I brought up something that I felt needed to change, her emotional reaction to feeling like she did something wrong would be really intense, and instead of dealing with the problem, it would become about regulating her emotions. Now my wife has really good coping tools that allow her to talk about the problem without thinking that she is the problem. And the biggest update, she's pregnant. We have a baby girl due in February. I'm shitting my pants with excitement. We are going to love her so much and teach her that she is more than her beauty. She's going to have happy parents who love each other and work through issues as a team. The toxic cycle will be broken. Jenna's family doesn't know, and she's not sure if or when she'll tell them. But if she does, there are going to be strong boundaries in place for how they can be a part of our daughter's life. And it'll start with family therapy. For now, she has one set of grandparents that will go to the end of the earth for her, and that's more than enough. My family has been absolutely incredible in their support, and they are so excited for us. Things are looking better than they ever have. That's all, folks. Thanks again for your support on this wild journey. And on to our latest update, titled, In-laws, 60 female, 79 male, are begging for forgiveness. Should my wife and I keep the door closed? Hello everyone. I've come here for advice before, and you all were incredibly helpful, and I could really use some support again. Jenna and I had our first daughter in February. She's amazing and we're doing great. We ended up moving away from Jenna's home state of New York to mine in Massachusetts to be closer to my family, and they've been incredibly helpful with the baby. We have not seen Jenna's family since cutting contact and blocking them everywhere, and we didn't tell them about the baby either. Yesterday, we received a letter in the mail from my mother and father-in-law. No idea how they got our address. Apparently my father-in-law has been diagnosed with late-stage cancer and is being told that he could be dead in weeks. In-laws went on and on about how sorry they were for the way they handled the situation with Mary. They also apologized for the way they've treated my wife her whole life. Again, check post history, but basically Mary was the golden child and Jenna was an afterthought despite being super accomplished. They ended by saying they recently heard about the baby through the grapevine and they want to meet their grandchild. To me, the apology seemed genuine. They went into detail on what they did wrong, apologized and expressed remorse, and explained what they should have done differently. They said they hoped to earn our forgiveness with time and were willing to do family therapy to heal our relationship. Jenna is not having it. She feels like it's too little too late and doesn't want to respond. She also suspects that they're lying about father-in-law's cancer and just wants to pressure us into reconciliation so that they can meet the baby. It seems ludicrous, but I guess I wouldn't put it past them. I want to respect my wife's feelings around this, but I'm worried that if the cancer is real, she may regret not taking this opportunity for reconciliation before he dies. I expressed this to her, but she is adamant, and I haven't broached the topic since. My instinct is to wait a few more days until the shock wears off to talk about it again. I just don't know what the best way to approach it would be. I certainly don't want to force my wife to do anything that she doesn't want to do. But I feel like she's not thinking clearly about this right now. It also must be noted that our baby is still struggling with sleep, and we're both tired and emotional all the time. So I feel like this might be influencing how she feels about all this. What should I do here? Should I try again, or just let it be? Edits. People, stop being mean to me. I'm too tired and emotional, and my feelings are getting hurt. I am not forcing my wife to do anything. I brought it up one time. I know this is not about me. I don't personally care either way. I just want to support my wife. I intend to tell her that I am here to listen and talk about it if she wants to, but I fully support her decisions around this. She has a great therapist that she trusts, and I'll be here to support her however I can. In the comments, Leaf Stars says, respect your wife and her decisions regarding her family. It's that simple. 100%. Your wife knows what she's talking about. She understands that if, and that's a big if, your father-in-law passed without reconciliation, she doesn't get a do-over. She's okay with that. Please respect that and support her. That old father, mother, grandmother is dying and the doc says she won't make it past Christmas, Thanksgiving or Easter is the oldest trick in the Narcissist Handbook. I'm not saying he isn't sick, but it's possible. Whatever you do, whatever you feel, please don't go behind your wife's back, because the second oldest trick in the Narcissist Handbook is that they will reach out to you privately and try to get you to connect with them. Be prepared to block them from every new number they try, and make sure to tell your wife if anything happens. OP replies, to be clear, I will absolutely respect whatever decision that she makes. I just feel like the news is so fresh, and we're in such an emotionally complex place, as it is, that she may not be thinking clearly about it. A similar situation happened to a friend of mine, and he regretted it for years. He actually turned to alcohol pretty hard for a while after. My wife has worked really hard to improve her mental health, and I worry about how regret might set her back. Although I suppose if her family is actually lying and manipulating us, that would set her back too. I just don't know. Would it be terrible to bring it up again in a few days just to see if she feels differently? Edits. I've also thought about asking my parents to take the baby for a couple of days so that we can get away and recharge. Maybe just getting my wife in a better headspace would allow her to think things through more carefully and less reactively. Well, shit, oh no replies to that. Conversely, I had a parent die while we were no contact, and while I grieved the parent that I wish I had had, I still felt like I had made the right decision. Let her take the lead here. She can bring it up if or when she's ready. It's hard for people with a loving family to understand what someone is going through when their family has been horrible. Quote, they said they hoped to earn our forgiveness with time. Not to be crass, but whatever. If he's literally on death's door, with time is somewhat disingenuous because he doesn't have time. In a few days, sit your wife down and stress that you respect her, you respect any decision she makes, you're just concerned about the long-term consequences here, which is fair enough. However, even if she comes to regret not accepting this apology, it is her regret to carry. You should point it out, but out of concern for her, because honestly, screw her parents. Just make sure that she understands that you are her partner, you are her rock, and whatever she wants here, you are there for her. You just don't want her to regret anything. Maybe don't mention the kid thing. She's allowed to both be stressed because of the baby and feel any such way about her parents. Hold her hands and assure her that you do not care about her parents at all, just her. Hug her, kiss her, and be there for her. By the way, even if she were to reconnect with her father and the amount of weeks before he dies, she could still come to regret that decision too. We all choose our regrets sometimes, and there is much to regret in every which direction here. Your wife has been burned her entire life, and she's understandably suspicious and wary of getting burned again. She knows what parents she's had her entire life again, and she may well have mourned their loss a long time ago, before the estrangement. Good luck, man. And OP replies, this was really helpful. Thank you so much. I will give it time and let her lead the way. I hadn't thought about that earn it with time thing. Like if he actually is about to die, what time are they talking about? And reading from other people that this is a common manipulation tactic makes me feel more strongly that my wife's instinct about them lying is correct. Yeah, I think pretty much here you just have to do exactly what she wants, OP. You're going to make a huge kerfuffle if you don't go with her. I really like everyone's change of framing here and advice in that it's her regret that she is going to hold on to either way. That's not your regret to burden yourself with, OP, and you shouldn't feel as though this is your problem to solve. My opinion is that the best course of action by you is supporting her and not forcing a decision either way, not pressuring a decision either way. Just be like, hey, tell me what you're feeling about it and what you want to do, and I'm cool with whatever decision you make because I love you. You're my wife, you're my worlds. That's it, OP. Happy wife, happy life, eh? Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!